For thousands of years, the European continent has been a fascinating destination in a real Ice Age world. In the northern delta, thousands of herds of herbivores crawl through caves, creating majestic landscapes. The cubs remained suspended in the womb, while hyenas and wolves fought over carcasses in the valleys and southern lowlands. The sight of Bears Canyon seemed indomitable, while the dwarves rejoiced at this incredible sight every time their bee appeared. However, their world is undergoing sudden changes, with the appearance of slender people with youthful faces and dark brown skin. They brought with them a radically new approach to tools, leading them to abandon spears and decorate themselves with leather and shell beads, an integration that the Neanderthals could not have anticipated. Among newly arrived migrants, this process may lead to their eventual disappearance. But these migrants will go on to revolutionize the way people exist and express themselves. Welcome to the world of the Paleolithic period, a pivotal period in prehistoric history that saw our ancestors overcome many obstacles on their path to domination. Advances during the Paleolithic period occurred worldwide, but with hundreds of years of research, Europe is the place with the best understanding of the period. The documentaries will focus on Europe's earliest prehistoric cultures as part of a 4-part series I'm working on. The next videos will cover Grecian Salutin and Magdalenian, so nothing more needs to be said. Join us in exploring these pioneers. Before the late 19th century, scientists discovered fossils and artifacts from the Paleolithic period. They were initially explained by the creation model, but the unification movement opened our eyes to show that the laws of nature existed long ago and still exist in our universe. This opened people up to the idea that the fossil record could be much longer than the biblical date, which is only a few thousand years. This discovery led to the discovery of traces of more ancient civilizations and the publication of Darwin's book On the Origin of Species, which opened people to the idea of species diversity people and forms that existed in the past. The discovery of modern human remains is closely linked to the discovery of stone tools and the extinct Megap, a hypothesis put forward in 1852 by local worker John Baptist Bamison during an expedition, accidentally discovered a cave. Attracted by curiosity, he moved a sandstone slab and entered the cave, where he found 17 human skeletons. These skeletons were found in a small town in France before the Advent period. Archaeologists quickly buried the remains at the local cemetery at the mayor's request. Unfortunately, these skeletons were never seen again, and their age and origin remain a mystery. Although much remains unknown, the first excavations at the site in the early 1860s revealed a treasure trove, including advanced stone tools and human and animal bones. These discoveries have shed more light on the ancient period, especially when determining the origin of some skeletons from the Stone Age. The discovery of bones of mammoth rhinos and cave bears, along with stone tools, demonstrates the importance of this period. This was a remarkable discovery at the time, as most people did not have much knowledge about earlier periods or history in general. Please note that the cave was later named Crow Dorak, or Orak Cave, after the nearby commune of Ornac. The term national origin is applied to the entire culture or industry that the instruments represent. Finally, the realization that this culture was the earliest widespread modern human culture in Europe has enormous implications for our understanding of human history. The country is one of 4 main European countries, with a Paleolithic culture that existed from about 43,000 to 26,000 years ago. To better understand the origins of our people, we first need to understand the early migration of modern humans into Europe. This is a topic that has attracted a lot of interest and debate, and there are still many unanswered questions. First, we need to briefly discuss the history of Neanderthals and the interaction between modern humans and Neanderthals, a development in Western Eurasia that extended from Western Europe to southern Siberia and the Middle East. Sapiens fossils were found from a 315,000-year-old site at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, with much evidence proving that Africa was indeed the homeland of humanity. Early migrations of Homo sapiens from the African continent are known, and genetic studies have shown that most of these populations became extinct before a major wave of modern human expansion. Anatomical and behavioral aspects occurred about 70,000 years ago. This expansion spread rapidly from East Asia to Australia, appearing as early as 65,000 years ago, although dispersal to Europe took longer. The latest research has proven that modern humans were present in the area of present-day France from 51 to 56,000 years ago, during a special period. Neonian tools, distinctive stone tools, were used for hunting and are thought to have promoted the use of bows and arrows in Europe some 40,000 years ago. It is hypothesized that these tools may have been used on atlatl darts or even arrowheads. Some researchers believe they are too small to be used for any purpose other than arrowheads. Interestingly, these hunters only existed for a short period of time before their primitive Styrian tool users moved on. These tools are derived from traditional stone tools from the nearby Near East and North Africa, home to the oldest Paleolithic cultures, known as Emirene. Blade and knife core technology originated in Africa about 300,000 years ago and spread to Neanderthals, improving into Mayan technology. These tools are often used immediately as knives or modified into point scrapers or many other types. This technology has many advantages, including longer cutting edges, longer narrow points, and more efficient use of rock cores. Paleolithic technology also often involved extensive use of bone and antler tools, perhaps combined with atlatl and this technology. The development of Paleolithic technology is considered a significant step forward in the origin of the above technology. This culture used both Marin techniques and Paleolithic technology, although it eventually became fully adapted. The combination of these technologies and modern human technology creates a diversity of tools and jewelry. Interestingly, Paleolithic tools still used much of the old Marin technology, but also included bladed bone tools and jewelry. These tools may have been passed down only to elders, or these techniques may have been taught to them directly. Prototype cutting technology focuses on the production of large straight blades of the right size and shape. This brings us to the earliest signs of the primitive nation, known as the Proto-Ornian. The organ first appeared in southern Europe and the Levant, although it quickly expanded throughout the world. On the continent, it is important to emphasize that organ culture persisted in the Levant during this time period, while stories of Neanders were approaching extinction between 45 and 42,000 years ago. Although many species in the population still exist with some influence from modern humans, after 42,000 years, Neanderthal extinction has become much rarer and a complex problem. I researched this topic in depth in my documentary about Neanderthals. In short, modern humans and Neanders coexisted in Western Europe for about 12,200 years. Evidence suggests that mimicry and interbreeding may have taken place in modern human populations, although there is no specific evidence of direct violence. The population of Neanderthals was always less than 10,000 people, and they lived throughout Europe and much of Western Asia. Modern migrants may have the space to develop and use technology differently. Although it is unclear what the ultimate fate of the Neanderthals was, their genetic legacy persists in modern human populations. Homo sapiens from the Levant that migrated to Europe did not inherit Neanderthal features, as can be seen by discoveries such as Egbert, a child from Lebanon who had modern human features. Overall, these findings shed light on the existence of neurological traits in these populations. Although all of these sites are morphologically associated with different hominins, they all have features that reflect Paleolithic materials and warfare. While OAS2 is most associated with Native Americans and Asians, OAS2 is most associated with OAS1. OAS2 is then most associated with monuments from 40,000 years ago in northern China. This is because both of these populations are descended from a Eurasian lineage, originating in the Middle East. This understanding supports our current knowledge of human dispersal in Africa. Both OAS1 and OAS2 have no genetic similarity to any modern peoples and represent historical human genetic diversity. Skull remains from caves in Romania and other locations such as Baku, Cairo, Usum, and Tun Yuan reflect the migration of Basilians from East Asia into Europe and interbreeding with Neanderthals. Although these populations appear to have disappeared and been replaced by modern human lineages, the high levels of neural DNA in some of these populations may have contributed to their replacement. This may be the reason why most neural genes were transmitted from previous populations to those that replaced them, known mainly from caves in Belgium and two sites in Russia called Kani and Sunir. Europeans first appeared about 37,000 years ago and are the longest living ethnic group to contribute to the continent. They still retain some Neanderthal ancestors, and skeletons from caves in the Czech Republic have been studied in this regard, although less information is available than before. The complexity of this explanation may discourage some, but it is important to realize that theories of heredity and change over time are not always consistent. That's why concepts like proto and early speech are thought to date from 43,000 to 37,000 years ago, while proper decoration lasted from 37,000 years ago until its decline. Similar stereotypes often portray hunting and gathering groups as completely peaceful and egalitarian, but that's not entirely true either. All indigenous societies exist on a spectrum between continued violence and lasting peace, as is clear from the direct evidence we have. It appears that Paleolithic hunting and gathering societies were less peaceful than Neolithic societies, with levels of violence in the latter period. This can be explained by the population size of Paleolithic hunter-gatherers, who often had small populations as mentioned earlier. This limitation is not a competition between groups, but a struggle for survival from the beginning. Of course, there are plenty of migrating animals around, and although there may occasionally be conflicts in important hunting areas, there is no evidence of any such conflicts. We only have one example of violence from Se Cavina Cave in Romania, where a skull was apparently smashed multiple times with a club-like weapon, resulting in the death of one victim. Skull fractures are not necessarily caused by falls or injuries from roof debris. The location of the fracture on the skull suggests that the cause was direct confrontation, or that the victim may have been kneeling in a defensive position. Evidence consistent with a serious, violent personal relationship could imply that these individuals may have known each other and belonged to the same group. Of course, we cannot rule out internal violence. The authors of the paper say that interpersonal conflict is best supported by evidence that murder has been one of the human behaviors since the emergence of man. This is not too surprising, because this behavior has existed throughout human history, including the Paleolithic period. Although violence certainly occurred during the speech, we do not know the context of these actions or how they occurred. However, it is important to remember that they are human beings like us and have a conscience. They will experience the pain of violence, even if it may happen in another country or region of the world. If you like this video, don't forget to like and follow our evolution content. Subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Goodbye and see you again.